All right, so let's talk about it, guys. Um, so everybody's talking about Alex, but not for the right reasons, right? Now, me personally, I wasn't really focused on that. It was kind of weird. There's certain picture that got to me a little bit. But then I realized or not realized, but in my mind, I kind of um discarded it because even though the picture was weird, I thought it was just them the way they draw things, and how Alex has always been a big boy. He's always been bigger than what he seems, and I think even in that Third Strike, he's always looked like he's in his mid to late 20s, just because of the way his body looks. But I think he's like 18 or 19 in that game, which is amazing to me. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the whole thing is that Alex pretty much married Patricia, right? His at first, like, this is my thing is that this wasn't lore, right? This is my main gripe with this because okay, he married his second cousin. That's not that bad. It's weird for sure. But number one, it's not against the law. That's number one. Number two, a second cousin, there's only like 3% DNA there. So that means that there's no possibilities of your baby coming out looking like Goro or whatever, you know. Um, that'd be crazy if his little daughter's like, he got three pair of extra arms and shit. I mean, it could be good for a fighting game character for sure, right? So, um, but there's not that much risk on that, and that's basically why it's not against the law. Because the main reason I think that it was against the law to begin with, to commit incest, was because of the possibility of some sort of deformation when it comes to the baby, to the offspring, and so yeah, that's really the main thing, guys. That's the main reason why the whole thing is illegal and the whole thing is like a bit taboo, right? And but so looking at it that way, that's just a second cousin. I was like, I guess it's okay. I guess it's not as bad. Um, but at the same time, you know, it's still kind of weird because of that picture. I'm trying to look for the picture. I don't even know if I have it on here. Let me see real quick. No, this one's kind of. This is what I'm talking about here. Okay, and so and still, when I saw the picture, like I said before, I took it off. I just discarded it as like, okay, they just maybe the way they drew them, because like I said, Alex is still. But then you start thinking about it, right? Because is it weird? Yes. But it doesn't mean it's. And a lot of people. My problem is also with people, but also with the writers. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why. First, I'm gonna start with people because I've always had trouble with people. My problem with people is that they try to say that this is a moral thing when it comes to Japanese people and American people. And the thing is, guys, um, I hate to say this, but in America today we have something called the Epstein files, and it's not looking too good for us, guys. Okay, so when we try to act like, oh, we have the moral high ground as Americans, that's not the way I see it personally, because I have a bit of perspective from different sides. And I'm not saying that I'm on their side or on your side. I'm just saying to say this side is good and that side is bad is not going to come up with solutions to the situation. And it kind of makes you kind of shut down on your particular side. Um, I mean, you could say that he's trying to say that a lot of people from the South of America do things like this, and that's why they had to put it in there, because it really seems like they were trying to do this, because this wasn't part of the lore, right? So you start thinking about it, it's like, why even go this route, when you know it's going to be perceived as kind of weird, right? And I have my theories of why they did it. I have a couple of theories. And the last one is probably going to, if not shock you, or maybe send you down a little rabbit hole. But when I look at this and the way they did this, I feel like they really wanted to say this. You know what I mean? Like, they really wanted to say this. And so the question is why? That's always what you got to ask yourself, guys, when it comes to things of like morality and like this country does it this way and we do it the better way or whatever. That's not what you got to ask yourself. You got to ask yourself is why did they do this? Why was it the American character? Because they didn't do it with any of the Japanese characters. They didn't do it with anybody else. They did it with the American character. But then I started thinking about the guy's not even from the South. He's like he's like a New Yorker. So what is I'm just trying to get in the minds of the writers that thought that this was a good idea, because this wasn't a thing in Third Strike. And in fact, I think I saw, I forgot who it was online, talking about the lore of Alex and how this never was a thing. They were just friends and they were adoptive, kind of like brothers and sisters, but not related by blood, And so that was always like the lore was that, okay, that he was adopted by this guy here who's the I don't know if you guys remember Leon from that's what he looks like to me, the actor from Leon. What's the name of the Leon the Assassin or something? Leon the Professional. Pretty good movie. Which, by the way, also kind of weird. I'm just gonna put it out there. Anyways, but like, yeah, like, why do that now? Why do that now? Like, what's going on in the news. What's going on with this country. The things that are put out there right now with the files, and I had to connect it with it, but it's like all of this has to be a factor in the writing rooms. Like, you have to have people out there like thinking about these things that you probably don't want to do that. You probably don't want to go that route. But it's almost like when you look at this, especially this picture here, and you see what they're trying to say here, I don't know, dude. It's just weird. Even after excusing it by saying it's only their second cousin, and by saying it's not prohibited by law, and the DNA is only 3%, so there's no risk of any deformations or anything bad like that. So nature's on your side, science is on your side, and the law is on your side. Why did you do that, though? Why did you sit in the writing room? And it's almost like this, guys. Okay, and this is why I like to see things from my perspective. I'm not saying that my perspective is better. I'm just saying choosing sides and saying right or wrong is not going to get you to the meat of the matter, or the meat and potatoes, as they say. What is going to get you there is by trying to get in the minds of these people that are doing this, and the same thing is that's how I see everything, by the way, guys. When people say, oh, right versus left, or Republican versus Democrat, I try not to see it good versus evil, because that's how you close yourself from learning. Okay, when it comes to this here, I feel like they really wanted to push an incest vibe to the situation, and I think they had choices, because they said we could just leave it how it is and just be them, grew up together. And yes, there's a bit of an age gap, which is fine. I don't really see a problem with an age gap, as long as they both grow up to be consenting adults and they both consent to being married, and they would have been fine. But you also would have to not show us this picture here. And that would have made it okay. It would have been like, yeah, it's kind of weird, but it's okay, right? Okay? It's fine. It's fine if it would have been that way. But then you were like, we have to put some incest in there. This is what I think they were thinking. We have to put some incest in there. Why? I have no idea why. And then they were like, we can't make them brothers and sisters because number one, they would be crazy because they would have been part of the lore all the way since back in 1995 or whatever, 1999. Right? But it wasn't a thing back then. None of the writers said anything about that. None of the developers said anything about that either. So how would that be that would be so surprising? It would be out of left field, which it still is, by the way, them being second cousins, right? But then you were like, what if we make them cousins? And they're like, that's still going to be too obvious. That's still too incestual. Let's make them second cousins. Because then the DNA part is off. The law backs you up, but it's still incest. It's still kind of incest in a way. So we're kind of teetering on the edge of that. And we still sneak that taboo in while not necessarily owning up to anything that we're doing anyways. But why though? Why is my question is why did you do that? What does that add to the situation? What does that add to Alex at all? Now this is the part that angers me personally, and this is the part where I'm gonna be a little biased. They didn't have to do this, but not only that, but they didn't focus on one of the main storylines of Third Strike and one of the main storylines of Alex, which is the fact that his main villain and the guy that he beat was Gil and the Illuminati. And that whole thing with them and the Illuminati and Gil being the Antichrist and him thinking that Alex was kind of like a stud and he wanted to make him part of whatever they were going on. Which, by the way, it's kind of creepy and it has to do with DNA as well. So if I go down the rabbit hole of that, guys, because there's a lot of secret cults that do incest. And I don't want to do that because that's going to take hours and hours of me dissecting the whole Illuminati role and what they could possibly be talking about and why this was pushed on our faces, right? I don't want to do that right now because it's exhausting at the moment, especially with a character like Alex that I love so much. And the fact that they didn't focus on Gil, they didn't focus on their whole battle, they just didn't care about it, and instead of them pushing the actual lore that we care about, like talking about Gil and the Illuminati and all of these other things, like the clones, the little weird stretchy animals that used to attack him, like the fact that they didn't focus on any of that, and instead they tried to talk about this and they tried to make it weird. They went out of their way to do that. Because like I said before, even if they would have said, oh, they're second cousins, and they wouldn't have showed us this, I would have been okay with it. I would have been like, oh, that's kind of weird, man, but, whatever. But the fact that you pushed this picture in my face and, like, really, like, made it weird, and then you did all the whole thing in the background, and then not only that, but you didn't talk about the Illuminati, and you didn't talk about Gil. That is what really pissed me off, because what are you thinking? What is is wrong with the thinking behind the writing room, bro? And last but not least, guys, I'm going to give you my last theory on why they pushed this whole incest thing and why they seem to be trying to do that. And something that you got to understand about Street Fighter is that, especially Street Fighter 6, I don't know if you guys know this, but Street Fighter 6 is definitely, there's definitely a theme, in the whole lore and in the whole universe of Street Fighter. If you have experience with World Tour, And if you spend a lot of time on World Tour, and if you actually try to, talk to a lot of these characters and see where they're coming from and stuff, what you're gonna realize is that there is a theme to Street Fighter. This is not a normal world. People don't act normal here. Everybody fights each other. Um, the whole economy is based on fighting, pretty much, if you think about it. But also the other thing about the Street Fighter 6 lore is that fighting is taken in a very weird way, guys. It's not a normal thing in this universe. And you know what? Let me show you really quick, because there's something that happened in this World Tour, Alex World Tour mode, that like this right here, that really reminded me of this. And this part right here, when they just finished sparring or fighting, and it just looks like they just got done, having sex. Listen, bro, I don't know how else to say this, but in the Street Fighter universe, fighting is sex. Okay, I get it. I understand. You're saying, what the hell are you talking about? Just go on World Tour for a little bit, guys. Just trust me on this. There's a couple of things in there, the way they talk about it, the way they say it. It's very weird, the way they talk about it. And the way they act after they do it, Like right now, they damn near... Like Alex damn near in this scene here. In this scene here, he damn near got up and took out a cigarette and started smoking it. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is it's used as an in there. The theme of Street Fighter is sex. Okay, and different fetishes of sex. Okay, and if you go down the line and you look at each, but for example, Jury is the foot fetish. Absolutely, like even you're gonna find it in their third, super. Their third super is the one that shows you what their main fetish is that they're representing, right? And I know it sounds weird, guys. It's a theory of mine, and it could be, you're just thinking wrong or whatever. No, bro. Like, I definitely thought about this a lot. And when I saw this World Tour for Alex, and I saw I saw a lot of the comments online, and people were talking about it, and I was like, I guess there has to be an incest guy. And I think they tried their best to make Alex the incest guy, just to fit in within the theme. And I'll give you another example. Okay, I'll give you another sample. And I'm going to try to keep it PG as much as I can, so I'm not going to get to some of the other fetishes that are kind of stronger. But if you look through World Tour and some of these characters, there's some crazy stuff in here. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. I'm not even. Yeah, man. It's my opinion, guys. It's my theory. I could be wrong. I could be off base, but they would explain why they pushed this narrative with Alex. Like for example, we could look at someone like Rashid. Right, and Rashid, in his level 3, he puts you in front of the camera. He does everything. He does a whole bunch of like crazy stuff that you can't really see, but he puts it in front of the camera so that the people could see it. So basically, he's an OnlyFans guy, or somebody who's a bit of an exhibitionist, where he wants to do it in front of people, right? And and you could just go down the line and kind of decipher what each of these characters represents when it comes to sex. And that's just my opinion, guys. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, just because of the way they talk about fighting, and the way they do things in this game. and the way they talk about fighting, like it's a way of knowing each other and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, for sure. I think that that's the theme, and artists do this a lot, by the way. It's not just Street Fighter; they use different themes, right? Like, for example, if you look at JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, his main theme that he uses is tarot cards, right? And each one of the main characters, especially from the first season, are representative of one of the each tarot cards, of the major arcana, right? And so, a lot of artists do this, right? A lot of our artists, especially in fighting games, they choose a theme and they focus on that theme in order to, come up with different characters. It's something that artists do a lot. And I think that for Street Fighter 6, I think that the theme is sex and different types of fetishes. So, and that explains it to me personally. That probably explains why they did this. Because I mean, other than that, why else would they push this? Why else would they try so hard to put this into the lore when it wasn't there before? There may be something that wasn't there before. Anyways, that is gonna be it for today, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.